everybody. This is Dave with No Chaser, and today's topic I thought about. It reminded me of this one joke, or it wasn't really a joke. I guess it was kind of a bit, but it wasn't even really a stand-up bit. By the way, if you don't know, you are now watching a failed stand-up comedian. That's me. I used to do stand-up comedy, and I love stand-up comedy, and one of my favorites was Louis C.K. Now, I'm not getting into the controversies or whatever stuff around him, but I remember I'd seen him, he had this one just joke or thought or something where he was talking about how he was in the airport, and there was a guy who had his full military service stuff on, and the uniform and everything like that, and he had a first class ticket, and he thought to himself oh, I should switch his seats because the military guy didn't have one. He's like, thank you for your service. I'm going to give you this first class ticket. You take the first class seat and the warm towels and all that nice stuff, and I'll sit back in the, whatever coach class with all the dregs of society or whatnot. And then Louis C.K., he started saying this part where he goes, and then I thought that thought. I go, wow, that was a really good thought that you had. And then it went away, and I went on my first class ticket. And I remember that stuck with me so much because it was one of those things where it's funny because it's true, but it reminds me so much of me in my drinking and addiction, because it felt like there was legitimately a split brain type of thing where there was two different types of thinking that were really actually occurring. I know a lot of people talk about this sort of phenomenon where people will be when they relapse, they'll have gone out to just go get a sandwich at Subway or something, and they'll come home with a 12-pack of beer or a bottle of vodka or something like that, and they'll be like, I don't even know how it happened. Or people will talk about how they'll walk into the grocery store and it'll be all of a sudden they just pull a bottle of vodka into their basket and they don't even realize that they were doing it. I didn't come in here to buy alcohol, but I just did that. In some way they've been possessed to go and just do this thing. And I relate it back to that the Louis C.K. bit, because it is this type of thinking I had before where I had these thoughts like that, where it was well, that's a good thought that you had, David. We're going to continue to drink, but it's good that you thought that you were going to do something different. Or there's many times where I was now could be a time where you could use your coping mechanism that you found out was good. You could do journaling or writing, or you could call a friend, call for help, reach out, do something for help for yourself. And I would just be yes, this would be a time where I do that. I'm not going to do it, but this would be a time when I would do that. And I would go and drink. And it would just be it would be these moments where I knew I was supposed to do the right thing to keep me from drinking, but I couldn't keep myself from doing it somehow. And I would acknowledge that. Okay, this is one of those fork in the road paths where you can choose to go this way or you can choose to go that way. And it's the destruction is on that side, and that you're going to be fine, that everything passes, this too shall pass, and all the type of stuff, cravings only, last so long. And I know all of these things, but I still will just be I understand that, but I'm still going to continue to drink. And it's one of those weird things where I relate back to that Louis C.K. type of idea where it was just this thought where it's it's good that you thought that, because that deep sense of feeling where it's just no, we were always going to do the drinking thing. You may have learned these other things that can temporarily pause you from drinking, or may have worked a couple of times, but we're always going to be drinking. It's always going to come back to this. I don't know if you know that yet, and it would drive me crazy, because it would be honestly just watching yourself make mistakes, an out of body experience where you just watch yourself relapse, or you watch yourself just choose these bad decisions. I was talking with somebody recently where they just said that they were crying before they even started drinking, because they were relapsing after 2 weeks, and it was it was a really tough 2 weeks, and they relapsed and they already started crying before they even drank, because they knew it was the utter shit show it was going to be, but they just couldn't do anything. It was just like accepted as, but I am going to do this. And so it comes back to that thing where it's just like, I'm proud of you for like thinking to give that guy the first class plane ticket. It's good that you are aware of what's actually occurring right now, but we're still going to go that route. I think that's one of the most like torturous things about addiction is that it seems to have this. The more you go through it, the more you learn these things about your mind and in your head about like why you're making these impulsive decisions and the things about instant gratification and all that type of stuff. The more you keep doing them, you gain an awareness, but there's still some sort of mindset at times that where you can't stop yourself. And so it's somehow even worse because you become aware of all your pitfalls, you become aware of all the triggers, you become aware of all the things that make you go back to drinking or using, and at the times when you should be doing something differently, but it still feels like you can't do it. You still can't give away that first class plane ticket. And it's one of those things where it's like, the funny part about his joke was that the idea of like he was congratulating himself for doing something that he didn't actually do. But it's like, you're a nice person because you did think to do that. And that resonated with me so much because it would be like, I think about all these times where, I'd been through recovery many times before, and I would just recognize all the same signs. I would recognize all the same things that were happening, and it would be like this, again, this split mind where it would just seem like, yes, I know how this whole process works, but damn, I guess I'm going to still go that route though. Like, I can't stop myself from going that route. I see, and it's good, David, that you learned these things and you understood that, like, this is where this path is going to lead you to go to that, bitter end. But, it's good that this is a time where you use a coping skill. This is a time where you would actually, improve your life, and that you're being, isolating, or that you're being too, cranky towards other people, or you're angry, or you need to get out of yourself, or you need to go to a meeting, or you need to work out, you need to you are recognizing all these things, but the idea of actually implementing them is just completely anathema to what you actually feel you are going to do, and it feels like almost predetermined in a way. And I think that's one of the biggest, why it can be so rough in recovery, because people just don't, you're watching yourself do something that even you don't understand why you're doing it. Again, it comes back to the impulsivity and the desire, that just the horsepower of it just keeps driving you to do something and you're watching yourself do something that you don't want to do, that is destructive and will only lead to bad consequences, but you can't stop doing it. And how you get put off that track is, it's some sort of, there's a reason why they have the word intervention, is that something has to intervene in your life to actually separate you from that track somehow. There was times where I went to treatment where it was it's not maybe so much about learning something different. It's just about being in a place where I can't drink or use drugs for 30 days. I can build some positive momentum, and I can just be away from it so I don't get back in that vicious cycle. And then maybe from that point I can try to gain some ground and move forward. But I don't know. I just thought that thing popped into my mind about the split brain of thinking. It's that's a good thought that you had. That would be a good time to use that. And I felt that so deeply in my own sort of struggles with in recovery, and the struggling of trying not to relapse or anything like that. So I hope you found this, like I said, this is not supposed to be about just pure advice or anything. I'm just relaying the experience of what goes on in the mind of an alcoholic or an addict. So I hope you enjoy and like this video and my content. Check out the podcast, Shoeless in South Dakota. Other than that, be well.